And yeah, do you know what? We'll start with that with that controversy right at the end, because I don't think it can be ignored. Obviously, it's circling all over social media at the minute, and we have an image here from Maurice Brosnan. So this was right at full time of the game between Kilmacud Crokes and Whitey Graham's Glen. And to refresh people's mind, this was obviously the complete, the last attack in the game. You can see, I think it might be Emma Bradley maybe standing over that, about to send the ball in. And what's actually ended up after happening is Kilmacud Crokes, in the first image, right at the bottom of your screen, you can see 16 players there. As we know, there should be 15 players obviously on the pitch, because that's obviously the way the sport is played. And then in the image on top, you can see Paul Mannion still on the screen as well. So what actually happened was Paul Mannion and Darragh Mullen were both subbed off. Both didn't leave the field in the end. So Kilmacud Crokes defending that attack with an extra man. Now, you could say Paul Mannion's not involved, and fair enough, he isn't, but he's still on the pitch. And Darragh Mullen, clearly, as you see, like, we'll get the image on the screen again. You can see at the bottom of the screen with the circle highlighted there. Maurice Brosnan posted this up on Twitter, so shout out to him. You can clearly see, like, that's obstructing the view there. And you might say, well, he wasn't involved with the ball that was played in, but if he's not there, then that creates space for someone else to go into. So all of a sudden, a lot of controversy. And I mean, what happens next? Like, does it have to be replayed, or what do you think?
The thing is, though, we were talking off air about it, and you were saying there was 2 incidents about this that you recalled, and they didn't go to a replay afterwards. What I was thinking of was a professional sport, soccer and all that. Celtic went through in the Champions League because of an ineligible player or something like that. But another situation which caught my eye as well, looking at this, was probably the Meath Loud incident in 2010. We're going back to this again. There was arguments the game should have been replayed then, and the GAA didn't bat an eyelid, and they just let Meath win the game. I honestly think this situation is nearly the same. Like, Loud and Meath was obviously more controversial than this. Like, it was a blatant foul by Joe Sheridan that time. And this incident, like, Paul Mannion has nothing to do with it at all. Darragh Mullen, it's not really controversial, but there is an argument there. Not for Conor Glass's chance, that was a brilliant save by Conor first, but the very last chance of the game, I'm not sure who kicked the ball from Whitey Graham's Glen. It's escaped from my memory, but there's an argument there that when he's taking the shot with 15 men on the field, there could have been more space to hit it from. He could have had a better chance for a goal there, which Whitey Graham's Glen needed to win the game and eventually to topple Kilmacud Crokes. So there's a big argument over this. Like, will the GAA just leave it there? Will they make it a replay? I don't know what's going to happen, but they have to, more than anything, Aaron, they have to decide the decision by tomorrow evening at least, because the GAA calendar has gone on way too long now, and there's the league starting next week. We don't want more build up in the calendar and all that. Like, we're talking off air as well about the impact of the county teams, the relevant county teams involved with the club sides as well. I don't think it'll be a big issue for Dublin, because I think Dublin will still go to Division 2 pretty simply indeed. But with Derry, therefore, it's escaped from my mind again what Derry's first game of the league is next week. But they're down Conor Glass, Emmett Bradley for next week if this goes to replay. So that's not right either. When Derry were planning with the 2 lads to play next week in the league, and this is a crucial season for Derry, because, like, they're favourites along with Dublin to go to Division 2. And if Conor Glass and Emmett Bradley don't play next week, that opens the door for maybe a Cork, a Kildare or Meath to, seize advantage of that. And to be honest, more than I'd like Cork to get promoted and all that, but in all fairness, that's wrong as well, because Derry were expecting the 2 guys to play next week. They were planning with the 2 lads. And what makes it even more kind of controversial as well, they're Derry's best 2 midfielders in Bradley and Glass. And to be without them in the first week of the league, that's going to be a tough one to take for Rory Gallagher then. I know Malachy O'Rourke came out and said it to Cara O'Kane after the game that it's not the Glen way, it's not his way to complain about this. And we're talking off air as well about the fact that it's not really up to him, it's up to the chairperson. You would think Danny Tallon, who took the free, is probably going to get involved in this as well. He's going to have his say. So it's a big mess. It's a messy situation. But the main thing for me is and I hope this happens, the GAA come up with a decision tomorrow. No later than that.
Yeah, that's what Tom says here. Could this game be replayed, or will GAA put it under the carpet? Whitey Grames should have a replay on the 5th of February, says Northern Ireland Railways train spotter. Dylan says Kerry was playing Limerick today in the Munster League. Yeah, we'll get on to that. I think they'll leave it because of the league coming up. Yeah, I mean, it's it's a very, very tough answer. Like, I mean, where do you slot the game in? I mean, as I was saying to you off air as well, like, I think if the game was level after extra time, it would have went to a replay. So I presume the GAA had some sort of scenario built up in their heads where the game was going to be played. And I know obviously TG Cahir are shown, I think, 2 games on Sunday. Maybe one of those games would have been deferred coverage in the end. And Kilmacud Crokes, Whitey Grames Glen would have got the slot on the Sunday. Dublin are playing Kildare at 5 p.m. on Saturday next week. So it definitely wouldn't have been on Saturday. But yeah, like like I think the fair decision is to play a replay, but there's a lot of question, if, buts, and maybe sort of in regards to this. And I think from a Kilmacud Crokes point of view, they'll probably look at it and think, well, like, yeah, it's such a tough one. I mean, I don't really know what. I mean, the right thing really should be to play the game again, but Crokes might say, well, the referees didn't catch us, so it's a very hard one, isn't it?
It is. I suppose if it was just Paul Mannion on the field, there wouldn't have been controversy at all, because you could clearly see from Morris Brosnan's image on Twitter, he has no influence on the play whatsoever. But the controversy comes with Darragh Mullen being in the vote, and he's right in the middle of the goal, so that doesn't look good. I honestly think, do I think Glen deserve a win after today, or a draw after today's performance? I don't think so, personally, because I think they threw the game away with about 2 or 3 goal chances, particularly towards the end of the game. There was one with Stevie O'Hara, there was one with Conor Glass, and deservedly, Kilmacud Crokes should get their hands or keep their hands on the All-Ireland title. But again, we go back to the argument, like, if Darragh Mullen isn't there, what would have happened? And we don't know what is going to happen, because we don't have them kind of resources here with us. So, it's a very tough call for the GAA to make. I honestly think, look at the game, Kilmacud deserved to win it. And Glen, to be honest with you, I don't think would have had qualms about this unless they seen the image after the game. If they didn't see the image, I'll put it this way, they would have no qualms about the result, because they would have thrown it away. But now they've seen the image, this is going to get messy. It's going to be a really messy situation. Hopefully they come up with a decision tomorrow, but ultimately, I think Kilmacud deserve to win the game. There shouldn't be any qualms about it. But with Darragh Mullen at front and centre of the photo, there's going to be controversy in the next few days over it.
Yeah, like, and if he wasn't there, maybe the same thing would have happened. Like, you just don't know. Like, it's like, rarely do you see these late goals go in anyways. But then again, the same thing happened to Kilmacud Crokes a year previously, where they did concede a late goal. You just don't know. Like, obviously hindsight's a wonderful thing, as they say, and unfortunately we just don't know what would have happened. But yeah, like, the 2 times previously that this has happened, from what I remember anyway, was Charlie Redmond in Dublin versus Tyrone in 1995. He did leave the pitch eventually, but he stayed on for, I think, 10 minutes after being sent off. So that wasn't really anything got to do with substitutes as such. And then I think there was another scenario as well involving a Cork minor team, I think, where a player didn't leave the pitch after being sent off. So it kind of is a hard one to know. Like, in the past, they haven't done anything about it. But as you said there, like, it's very hard for the GAA to ignore this. Like, I think in 95, and I think the other incident that took place in the early 2000s, like, the GAA could probably get away with it more back then, because there was no social media, there was no outrage. Whereas now, like, they can't get away from it. So I think Monday morning, 9 a.m., they need to come up with a decision, in my opinion.
They have to, yeah. There's no